Hi everyone, the following video is a recording of our 63rd Artist Feedback AMA session. The session was held in the MetaJungle Discord on January 26th and hosted by the talented Mike Schmidt and Arwen Levinson. We want to thank Mike and Arwen for their time in reviewing 6 different NFT collections that featured all different types of NFT photography. We also want to thank everyone who submitted their art for review and everyone that was able to attend. We hope you find the information shared in this session as useful as we did. And with that, let's go on ahead and get into it.
So, first collection we're looking at is called Kushti, and it's the art of wrestling and a way of life. And this is by Srinivasa Yeni. And there's a nice little long artist statement here that I'll get into reading. Try to read it quickly. It's pretty long, but I think it's important to the body of work. So, excuse me if I pronounce some of this stuff wrong. Some of it's very difficult. So, Kushti is a form of combat wrestling that originated in India, wherein the wrestlers practiced the sport on mud, and by becoming a discipline of the akhara under a guru who runs it. Traditionally, akharas are places where the pahalwans, those who practice wrestling, live and train along with their guru and learn the art of wrestling. Kushti isn't just a sport, it's an ancient subculture where wrestlers live and train together and follow strict rules on everything from what they can eat to what they do in their spare time. The focus is on living a pure life, building strength, and honing their wrestling skills. The wrestlers consider their akara as a temple and their guruji as God. Lord Hanuman, the deity of strength, is worshipped by the wrestlers, and they all practice abstinence or brahmacharya celibacy, like their deity Hanuman. Wrestling is a worship to them. Every wrestler has to wear a langot, a type of attire consisting of a loincloth or underwear, which is usually worn by the Indian wrestler before entering the akara. Kushti is practiced on a training ground, which is usually made of mud and clay mixed with oil and ground turmeric. Water is added every few days to keep it at the right consistency, soft enough to avoid injury, but hard enough as to not impede the wrestler's movements. Give me a second, guys. I'm gonna move here. I think that there's an interview going on. Yeah, I think I'm at an interview here. One second. So it should be better here. The wrestlers seek blessings from their Guruji, and then only then do they start their kushti practice. After waking up at 4 in the morning and consuming a big glass of apple juice and some almonds, wrestlers jog for about 4 miles. Then they come to the Ankara and dig the soil. After that, their conditioning drill starts, which includes rope climbing, 500 Hindu push-ups, a mace workout, and sparring with a partner for learning the technical part of wrestling. Here, I have captured this image when the training sessions get kicked off with the elaborate warm-up routines comprising push-ups, squats, and various other exercises with large wooden clubs. From 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., they work out in the morning. They take a break until 4 in the afternoon, and in the following next 2 hours, the skirmishes in the arena start up again. At the end of the day, wrestlers rest against the walls of the arena, covering their heads and bodies with earth to soak up any perspiration and avoid catching colds. This relaxation ceremony is completed with massages to soothe tired muscles and demonstrate mutual respect. These massages, which require close contact between the men, create an atmosphere of social unity. Sorry, just lost the spot there. Yeah, social unity. Finally, a cold shower outside with a simple hose or bucket over the head signals that training is over. Dietary rules are very specific. They will have lots of almonds, milk, ghee, and chapatis, traditional bread. Younger boys from 7 to 8 years old, recruits and novices handle all the peripheral services necessary for the smooth running of the akara. Living together promotes camaraderie, solidarity, and fraternity in this specific universe where time stands still. This traditional wrestling aims to awaken a heightened sense of self. Participants exert themselves physically, but also on a moral, spiritual, and social level. From the moment they enter the Akara, a sacred space, strip down and coat their bodies with clay, they all become equal. Here, there are no castes. Wrestlers of all ages and professions cohabit. The hierarchy here is built solely on strength and capabilities. Yet physical strength is not the goal, rather a means to control muscles as well as the soul. The main focus of Kushti is on living a pure life, building strength, and honing their wrestling skills. In this photographic journey, I have documented the passion for wrestling I've witnessed in the Talims of Kol Hepur. Okay, great. I mean, this is um, this is a really beautifully well written artist statement. It's a bit long, but I think that that's fine because it really gives us an idea of all the discipline and spirituality that goes into this art of wrestling. And it's a really captivating read. And so diving into the pictures, you'll see that there's six images here um, at 0.25.
Oh, could I just say one thing about the
Yeah,
description? Um,
yeah,
I
please.
I also love the description. It's really detailed, and I think it tells so much about what's going on. But there are a couple places where I noticed grammar isn't exactly correct. So maybe if he could just review that. Like, for instance, where it says, "Here I have captured this image," when the training sessions get kicked off. Um, I don't know, maybe it should say these images, since it's in the description of the collection. Just a couple things like that. If you would read through it again and just make sure that, everything is 100% correct. Other than that, it's amazing.
Perfect. Thank you, Arwen. Yeah, like it's just like a good proofreading, and just taking those paragraphs and making them even cleaner and easier to read would be great. Like you said, the information that we get from this is really gold because I don't know much about this form of wrestling and what it entails, and it seems like it's a lot about discipline, which is really cool. So um, the titles for me, which kind of like I just noticed this in the titles, is that each title, each image is just Kushti 1, Kushti 2, Kushti 3, all the way through 6. I would definitely title these differently. Like I think that they each deserve their um, own title. Like maybe whatever in Kushti 5, like whatever this slam is called, maybe the title has something to do with this slam, or the man here who's pouring all the dirt and mud on himself, which is my favorite image. I think in this. I think it could definitely have a title that's more impactful than just the name of the collection with the number of the image. Um, with that being said, I love this shot so much. It almost looks like he's like a gorilla because it looks like looks like the fur or hair of a crazy primate. And also you see the eyes closed, the mouth closed, and you can just see the nose and the lips. It's really compelling. This photograph so much. And then in the background, you can see, I guess, like an icon or maybe deity in some sense that that's used in ceremonial or they worship. So I really, really love this image. Start from the beginning though, and just kind of go through. I think there's really, really great compositions done here, where you know there aren't really like the like no one's overlapping. Like this shot is really, really well. Look how he's holding the boy in the background, right? He's not intersected by the boy's own well shadow, which I think is coming from the boy. It must be coming from the boy here. The light is directional in this direction coming here. This creates a lot of dimension, right? Like this, the main, thank you. The main actor here is he's right in the foreground. He has beautiful middle ground and a beautiful. I think compositionally, it's really, really well done. I think it's really great storytelling shots. Um, this one for me, really, really good shot as well. I mean, composition, I think compositionally could have been a bit better. I'm not crazy about how there's just this boy in the background, man in the background. You could just see his leg. Um, it's just, it makes a strange sense in the image to me. I probably would have moved over a bit to the right side of the image and showed this maybe a little more, a little closer to head on, where there's two men or two boys on the left, two men or boys on the right, and then the action is happening in the middle. I know this probably happens really quickly, but it's probably how I would have went about that one. This one I've already talked about. The slam here that's happening. I mean, you could even call this shot the slam, like, and that would be more compelling to me than Push T6. Great moment captured. I love how he's completely still and sharp and frozen in the image. But the man being slammed, you can see his foot has some movement and his arms. Imagine this is shot under a 5/1500th of a second to get that. It's nice. It seems intentional. If it's intentional, it still worked out still worked out in your favor. Um, love the expression of the man on the left here, looking out. Kind of wish we could see this boy who's behind. Can only see the legs. Um, once again, another shot where maybe I would have moved a little bit to the left. Like I said, a lot of this is happening very quickly. Um, Arwen, what is your impression of the photography itself? Maybe maybe you have the same feelings about the titles that I do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I especially love the light and shadows in all of these. I think it introduces an extra element that you don't always see in these kind of shots, and I think that's amazing. They all have I mean, most of them they all have really cool shadows. Some are on the floor, some are in the wall, like that one you pointed out, and the light is just fantastic. I agree with you that number three is a little less strong because of the overlapping uh, person, and I actually think it's almost the same uh,
Right?
exercise as number five, and number five is much stronger. So, when curating, there may have been the possibility to have left out three and choose something that's completely different. Because to me, three and five, they look like they're doing the same sort of wrestling move in them. And five is much more captivating.
I actually thought that three looked a lot more like six, as far as like the composition goes. Like the three looked a lot like the last one, and
The
that maybe
composition, I
yeah,
agree, but I was talking about
the
the
slam.
wrestling, like they're both doing the same. Like each of the other ones has a different main subject, whereas those two, it looks like they're both like doing the same sort of
Yeah, like
action in the
yeah,
wrestling.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And compositionally, I thought that these two, Kushti 3 and Kushti 6, felt similar in regard that, well, there's more people wrestling in this shot. But does it? This shot to me feels like maybe it could be straightened a little bit too. Like it feels like the room is like shifting to the left, and
Yes,
that maybe it could be pulled to the right. I don't know if tilting it to the right would bring the subjects here too close to the edge of the frame, and maybe that's why it wasn't chosen to be straightened. But if this was cropped and there's more room on the right side, it would be nice to have more breathing room on the right side. And if it's not, compositionally, I probably would have shot it with a little more room on the right, like maybe made the space on the right equal to the space on the left hand for this thing. He's got a lot of nice breathing room here, but this is like they're almost exiting the frame. So I had to be technical about it, but yeah, I think you know, I love the line on the banner here. It's really great. I love how you put this man in the middle. First image with the suplex or whatever this is called. I'm not big on more wrestling moves. And then on the end here, kind of like three different sets of people doing wrestling moves. But I love the work in black and white. I think it looks great in black and white because the shadows and highlights work really well um, within this collection. So like the biggest takeaway for me is like the titles. I think the titles should be more compelling. I'm not sure if this is something you can change with Sloika, but yeah, for me it was the titles. Um, the question from the artist is price range okay or should I reduce? I definitely wouldn't reduce this price. Like, I think this is a really good price for some of these images. I mean, especially for me, the strongest ones with Kushti 2 with the ropes, Kushti 4 with the man dropping the dirt on himself, and Kushti 5 with the suplex. So I think these images are really strong, these three. 0.25 is definitely a good price. I wouldn't lower it from here, especially that these are one of ones. Let's look quickly at how you described an image, just particularly just an image. So read this quick. The wrestling mud um, is a poised thing for the wrestlers. They love to oil their body and smear it with the mud from the arena. The soil is mixed with turmeric, milk, ghee, buttermilk, and other natural ingredients which have curative properties. This mixture not only makes the soil soft and conducive for wrestling, but also has benefits when applied to naked skin. There is a strong belief. Uh, there is a strong belief that Lord Hanuman has blessed the mud in the arena. Smearing of mud also serves another purpose of reducing friction caused due to oil and sweat. Once inside, the Talim caste, creed and religion are no more an issue, maybe no longer an issue. Um, the pursuit is all about the divine brute force and energy. I have captured this image at Gangavesh Kara Kolhapura. Just what do you think about the title, the description of the single images?
I like it. I think it's great. I think it really tells me. I was wondering what all that stuff is on him, and it really tells me about it. And then adding where it was taken at the end is a nice touch. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's so much more than I thought was on him. I just thought it was like strictly dirt. And then to see that there's turmeric, milk, ghee, buttermilk, um, it's like it's almost a mixture of ingredients to cook something. Um, it's interesting that they go through all this. Really cool. Um, so yeah, I like the individual descriptions. I like the artist statement. Like Vincent go in here and fine tune this artist statement, not necessarily by making it smaller. I don't think you have to, because I think the long artist statement is good, especially uh, for collectors that are interested in understanding the story. But just like some small grammatical stuff to work on. Outside of that, the titles for me were a big thing. I just don't enjoy Kushti 1 to Kushti 6. It would feel more of a one of one if my title had like a sort of a poetic meaning or um, had something to do with the art, what was going on. The other question: how effective are these work? How effective these works look on a collector's point of view? I think very effective outside of the titles. But yeah, and if if there's two images that look close to being the same, I would always pick the stronger image and keep out the one that's strong. But for the most part, a lot of these are different. So yeah, anything you wanted to add on this, Arlen, before we move on?
Yeah, I totally agree. I really like how the description's done because somebody can get the basics by just reading the beginning if they really don't want to read the whole thing. But if they want to learn more about it, then they can read the whole thing. So I think that's really well done. And the photos are fantastic. The only, thing I might have done differently is to not have had Kushti 3 in there. I mean, if there was a different possibility. And yeah, the light and shadows is really what grabbed my attention initially, and it's just amazing. And as to the pricing, I think 0.25, I agree that you shouldn't go below 0.25, especially on Sloika. They tend to be around there and up. So that's a consideration as well.
Yeah, that's the principle of making strong works. I think it's not for you down and get sentiment or something and keep this price. I just think maybe more as need to be on the work, because this would be cool. The collector, like one collector, picked up three of these. Like if I was the collector, I picked up three of these and pushed 4, 5, and 2, and I would probably show those. Well, I would show those in a gallery together, probably separating Kushti 2 in the middle since it's a much darker contrast. I'd probably have that in the middle. Put Kushti 4 on the left and Kushti 5 on the right. It would make for a really nice kind of triptych in an art gallery. So I think the right person just has to find this. And I think the long description of your artist statement, it just shows um, how devoted you are to your work. Not only how devoted you are to your work, but how devoted you are to the documentary part of your work in understanding what your photograph is. So really, really well done job on that. Kudos. That said, I think we can move on to the next piece. It's a single.
Right. I just wanted to say, I
Sure.
don't know if it's just me, but you're breaking up a little bit for me at times. I don't know if anyone else is having this issue.
I'm sure that I am because I'm using a hotel's Wi-Fi. Um, yeah, doing it. Are you hearing?
Yeah, it's coming through. It's not too bad.
Okay, very good. Um,
Yeah, there were just a few times I couldn't really make out what you were saying, but most of the time I didn't have a problem.
okay, good. I'm gonna try to speak slower, a little bit slower too. Um, cool. The next image we're going to look at, it's a single image, but it's an edition of 10. It's called Calmness by Christian Rademeyer. And I'm going to read the artist statement here. So, um, March 2020 in Egypt, just before the curfew announced by the Egyptian president, my wife and I went on vacation and spent a few days in Sal Hashish on the Red Sea in Egypt. The trip turned into something unexpected, and we didn't get home until 10 weeks later than planned. It was March 12, 2020, when this huge storm passed over the Red Sea and later on from Cairo. It's not really common for Egypt to have a severe storm with high winds and lots of rain over a few days. I took the camera, went down to the beach, was alone, and took a series of long exposure shots. The weather was miserable, but somehow I was completely relaxed and calm as I took the pictures. The sea was wild and angry. My wife said, "You're crazy to go out in this weather." But when I showed her the pictures afterwards, she understood why I had gone out, and she was also completely calm. That's why I named the series Calmness. Enjoy it, and all will be well again one day. Christian Redemeyer. Be unique with your piece of art. So, not too long of a artist statement, but a really good one. I think I love the story behind it. Kind of felt like I was there with you in a sense, and um, you guys had to stay extra time. I don't know if that's because of the storm. That's not really stated in here. You guys just say you have to stay 10 weeks later than planned, and there's a huge storm that passed over the sea, um, and that you went out and photographed this because you felt like there was something there, even though your wife thought you'd be crazy for heading out, and that seems as though remaining calm through the process was something really important. So I like the artist statement. So I'm gonna open the image up big, and it's a really beautifully well done image. It's very minimal. I would consider this to be minimalism. Um, so if you have a long shutter speed, you said, you said it in the statement. I could just see it from looking at it, which gives this kind of calm and serene feel. So I think calmness makes a lot of sense here. I love in the water. I love how it has this purplish sort of magenta that goes into like this deeper blues into this more blue. And then you even have white in here. I wonder where that white comes from. I'm imagining that's the crashing of a crest of a wave. But I believe it's a beautiful image. And I know Arwen is a landscape photographer, so I'd love to hear her take on this shot. And did I come in good for the artist statement, Arwen?
Yes, it was great. Well, I think this is absolutely beautiful. For me, the colors, and it does really exemplify calmness. I think it's named absolutely perfectly. The long exposure was such a good choice for this. The colors are just so soothing. And yes, the minimalism really goes with the name as well. Um, One thing I could recommend for future, which I like to do with mine, especially when they're long exposures, is to put those in the properties. I don't know if you can add properties in Sloika, but I assume that you can. And so I like to put like the exposure time for the long exposures in it because some people are just interested to know. And, it really gives a sense of, how you manage to produce this calm and smooth photo. So that's really the only thing I would recommend. I love it, and I love the statement, the artist, the description of it. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. And I think that could be interesting information to add into the properties down here, the shutter speed and stuff. Is is it do the properties down here normally have one of one as well? Because I don't see that listed in here. I mean, I know it's safe to assume that obviously. Oh, it's not one of one. We know that. I'm sorry about that. It's an addition of 10. That's something that I would probably still put down in properties, just because the future of NFT and trading might be multi-platform, and maybe this part won't carry over to multi-platform, but like maybe the properties part, which is sort of like the metadata will. So I always think it's important to have the edition size within the properties, the artist name. You got the artist name there, and for landscape, like Alan was saying, the shutter speed would be interesting to have. I guess I guess it's subjective whether or not you want to give people information on what you use to take the shot technically. I don't mind giving that information, but some people do. Looks like there's two collectors so far. Steve Bennett, we love Steve Bennett. He's great. He's got the first one. And we got Sushen. I'm familiar with that name, but I don't know as well as Steve. But there's 8 editions remaining at 0.03 ETH, which is 48 USD. 10 editions, something I really like. I like 10 editions a lot. I love that it's a solid number of 10. I like that there's still has scarcity to it. It's not too many. Um, and so I'll go over to questions. Um, what is your impression, inspiration when you look at the image? Would you like to mint it yourself? My impression is kind of get lost in it. Like I said, it's very serene, it's peaceful, it's calm, like the title says. Yeah, I would mint something like this for sure. I haven't been minting too much stuff recently. I definitely would add it to my collection. I think it's beautiful. It look nice in any collection. Um, Two editions out of 10 are minted. How can I advertise to get it sold out? Sloika does help to advertise it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and their website. Blogs next to all of my advertising link. Sorry about the noise. Price is pretty low for this multiple award-winning photograph. I guess this should not be an issue. Yeah, I don't, I don't consider it to be an issue on price at all. I think it's a really good price. It's really cheap for an edition of 10 for such a beautiful photo that's award-winning. It's nice that Sloika does help you advertise on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. But ultimately, it's us. We are our own brand, so we kind of have to get the work in the eyes of others. So, one thing would be let's go to your Twitter. One thing for me is definitely having it as your pinned tweet. You have it as your pinned tweet. That's great. I'm going to retweet this. This looks beautiful. Anthropolis is gorgeous. I saw that the other day. I loved it. Um, yeah, you have it as your pinned tweet. Have some GMs going out. Other people's work. That's cool. I know we talked about this last week, where you could be, should be, well, last week or the week before, because I reviewed your work, where we talked about some things that you could be doing to help um, get some more eyes on your work. And one of those things was actually featuring, spotlighting other artists, which you're doing a lot now. So really, really cool to see that. So I think doing that, I think talking into chat spaces on the Twitter chat spaces is a really good place to get eyes on the work. And yeah, I think I think just be patient. It's a gorgeous piece. I think it will eventually sell out. Arwen, do you have anything to add on some of those questions?
Yeah, I think maybe for some time in your pinned tweet, you should put just this one and put it as a full photo instead of having the photo with both of these. Because I feel like this is so stunning. And if I just saw it as the photo right there, it would really draw my attention to it more. So that's one thing. And then I would also say, patience really is a big thing in this space. And I hate to say that, but since you don't have very many followers, you don't have a huge audience to your tweets when you're tweeting it out. So, like, I just followed you and I'm planning to retweet your stuff when I see it. But it's really, just about getting more eyes on it. I'm sure once more people see this, they will want to buy it. In fact, I bookmarked it for when I'm edition shopping. I actually absolutely love it. So I think, try growing your Twitter and, especially like you seem to have varied work. There's a cityscape that's black and white on the right, and then there's this one. So, I mean, I find that following photographers and, interacting with them who have work similar to mine really helps a lot because they'll probably like my work and retweet it. And of course, I like looking at their work. And so, just do that as much as you can and try and get as many eyes on it because it's a great photo and it's a great price.
Yeah, I mean, those are some great points. Like just having that picture on its own in the pinned tweet and telling the story of it. I love the story about it. How you were on vacation and you guys had to stay 10 weeks longer. There was a storm that passed through. So I think it would be really cool to have the photo with the story for a pin tweet, like for a bit. Like Norman said, I think that's a great point. It's also a way you think about growing your Twitter is like thinking about like outside of an artist, what are your skills and how you can help people in the space. And it says that you are a creative problem solver for your clients as architectural and fine art photographer based in Vancouver. I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds like you are a resource. And so, how can you be a resource in Web3 with the information that you know? And maybe that being a resource is through holding your own Twitter space. Maybe it's through um, how you write out your tweets. Maybe you could do tweet storms to that are really knowledgeable and helpful. Maybe it's having your own Discord as a creative problem solver for people. But all of these things can build your following as you add value to the Web3 environment. I think doing that will, bring a lot more eyes on your work because let's be honest, you have the talent, you have the work. The work speaks for itself. It's really beautiful. So you just have to work on the building side. Like Arlen was talking about the building side of your brand. And I think some of those suggestions are good to think about. Like I said, what the world needs to know, right? What the world needs to know that Christian knows, that could give value back to the ecosystem, and you'll get a lot more followers from that, a lot more eyes on your.
And the other thing I would advise, I don't know if you're already doing this, is to tweet out this photo, as much as you can. So, like, maybe at least once a day. And you don't have to put the advertisement for the edition when you tweet it out, just like GM with the photo or, a nice caption with the photo, mix it up a little bit. Just get as many eyes on the photo as you can. And then in your pinned tweet, you can have the advertisement. That's what I do a lot of times to just try and get more people seeing the photo and retweeting it and enjoying it.
Absolutely. Perfect suggestions. Thank you, Arlen. I think that's yeah, he says thank you for offering your views. Appreciate it. So cool. I think this is a gorgeous image and I think it will eventually sell out. So if you guys are here, send a retweet out for Christian, get his work in the eyes of more people. That being said, let's move on to the next piece.
I was just
Hey.
going to mention, hi Mike, hi Arlen.
Hey, how are you?
And I was just going to mention, I think the artist is here, so I wasn't sure if he had any questions or feedback input wanted to mention, but I just thought I'd volunteer that. But things are going great, so appreciate you guys being here today.
Awesome. I was so worried about my internet. That's a great point. I'm not looking in the Discord area because I don't want to go away from the art. But yeah, artist is here and can be unmuted. I know he really took great to the feedback from last week, so I would love to hear anything today if he wants to come up.
And of course, it's fine if Christian doesn't want to. He did put a note in the chat about great advice with adding value, creative problem solver. Means my clients always struggling how to solve their problems, to take images and their properties. So he said, thank you very much for your advice. But yes, Christian, if you have any input you'd like to share, you're welcome to, or we can move on to the next artist as well.
Yeah, either way, that's perfect. Love to see that. He's using the AMA chat to give us feedback on the feedback that we're given, and always appreciate the artists being open to having their art on display and talked about. So thanks a lot, Christian. And if you decide to come up, just
I'm a little rusty from not having done this for some time. Are the comments in the AMA live chat channel, or are they somewhere else?
I'll show you. They're actually down. They're actually here where our feedback AMA. There's a little chat box. You see on my screen?
Okay. Yes.
And there's an open chat there, and so you can see that here. That's where Emma was reading.
Okay, great. Thanks. I was just looking for them and I couldn't find them.
Yeah, I usually go through and read them afterwards. It's always nice to hear from the artists. Very cool. The next piece is not photography. Actually, we haven't reviewed something that's not photography in a while, but I thought it was such a good piece that I was like, I really wanted to talk about it. And this is Scientia Potentia, EST. I don't know if that's established or if I'm saying this correctly, but I just want to say congratulations. Last sold for 4.20 ETH. Just minted recently on January 10th and already sold for almost 4.5 ETH. That is awesome. Let's read the description. So um, I guess that this actually means knowledge is power. So my motto, knowledge is your most valuable resource. I believe that knowledge can help you the most. It can be turned into a skill, crafted and honed, or a weapon. Knowledge is the foundation to build or even restore your assets. I convey through my work the importance of studying. Knowledge is the remedy for sadness and melancholy. Instead of pondering on the evil, I want to study our magical world and discover as much as I can while I can. The painting is a veiled self portrait, it's a representation of the abundance of my thoughts. It is a knowledge temple and a chamber of reflection. And digital artworks by Eva Eller from 2023. Additional content. Each one of one collector receives one additional artwork as an NFT edition and a special POAP for Eva Eller. If you guys aren't familiar with POAP, it's proof of attendance protocol. She got the licensing. Let's see the attributes, artist's name. So one of the questions was that before we get into the work, I did not include edition size because it is a one of one. I don't like how wording looks like in the description. Should be it should be visible that it is a one of one. I hope that is not a problem. I think what she means to say is that like we should know that it's a one of one without having that to have to be listed. Um, but I mean, I think this is a question, and so I answer it by saying um, I think in sort of the attributes, it should say that it's a one of one. I don't think that it looks bad at all inside of the attributes, which are basically the properties of Foundation. Um, you also wrote in the additional content, each one of one collector receives. So you're kind of saying that it is a one of one. Although, I would probably have it say like either in the title, right after est here, like dash 1/1, right, one of one, or in the description here, one of one. I mean, either way, like an auction was won for 4.2 ETH, so that collector did not mind, obviously, that it wasn't written in there. Some might though. Uh, that being said, like, I just want to look at this piece, right? Like, it's this is a digital painting, right? So like, you know, it's really beautiful. And I think we see so much AI created work now that like when I looked at this at first, I was like, oh, is this AI? If it is, it's really beautiful. But then I'm thinking to myself, like, let me read, and I found out it's a digital painting, and to me that makes it so much more valuable because like all of the work and detail has to go into it from the artist itself. I look at I look at AI as being more of an art director in the sense that you're telling a system to create something based on an algorithm, but this has to be thought up. Create a painting like this, the concept has to be thought up and then executed with, either paintbrushes or digital paintbrushes. And like, look at all, like, it looks like has almost like a puzzle piece feeling to it, like a puzzle piece look, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I feel like there's like an angel in the middle, and the red makes me feel a little bit more like these are not exactly. I don't want to say. I don't want to. I'm gonna interpret it how I see it, and I think that's good enough. Um, that some of these other ones around her feel like they could have different intentions outside of just being angelic and good. Um, I love this. Wow, I just saw this. This little guy, he had, or girl, they have the Ethereum sign on the chest. That's amazing. I love all the detail in this. It's very thought provoking, but it's very, very well executed. It's a digitally painted piece of work. I think it's just really, really gorgeous. Um, Arwen, do you want to talk about this as a painting?
Sure. I mean, I don't have a lot of feedback for the painting itself, although I do think it's amazing. And I love how you put in the attributes vibe Renaissance, because it really, like, when I looked at it, I'm like, this looks like a Renaissance painting. But then you start looking at the details and they're a little different, like the Ethereum symbol and, things like that that wouldn't really be in the Renaissance days. But yeah, wow, it's really nice. And I agree that putting the edition size in the attributes is probably the best place to put it. I always put mine uh, just before the license in the description and then also in the attributes, but you probably don't need to put it in both places. So for one of ones and for editions, I do that just so that it's clear. And it's interesting because it was in one of these feedback sessions that I first learned that I should put my name in the description, and you did do that. But then I was looking at a gallery that somebody had curated, and most of the pieces you couldn't tell who they were by because they didn't have the name in the description, but mine you could because I had the name there. So I think that's a great piece of advice, and everyone who's listening and attends the feedback sessions should definitely remember that. And I think it's true with anything that you want people to know, because sometimes when they're in galleries, they don't show the other information that you see when you're looking at the site, but you do see the description. So as much as possible that's in there is a huge help. Is somebody talking?
Oh, I was talking, but I had muted myself. I don't normally mute myself because I'm usually home and it's quiet. But I was saying, no, that's all great advice, and I think even having the license in the attribute area as we go into phase in Web3, where I think will be more multi-chain and cross-chain, that these attributes will move over, and this description stuff might not. I would always have the most important stuff in the attributes, like the one of one, the license, the artist name. She had also said here, I actually don't have any questions, but would love to get honest feedback. I only put one work for the feedback, but this is my portfolio where all the works from the same series are minted on different marketplace contrasts. Contracts. So I have this art station where she has this. Um, she's asking for feedback on this. I mean, I'm looking at it, and for the most part, like these are super cohesive. Well, the top row is really cohesive in like the color, the mood, and all of that. Like I opened up this piece before, and I was just like, wow, just incredible detail. And I love the typeface in this piece here. I love the color of the gold and the skull candles, and just these parts that look like they're little puzzle pieces. The hourglass speaking about time. I don't know if this is a book of Satanism. I'm sure, but when there's a book above the head and there's like all of these lines coming out, it makes me think of the light bulb above the head, the thoughts, the knowledge is power. So that makes sense to the other works. I love the three you posted on the top together. This one, I don't know this one which. I mean, I don't know if it's in the same collection of if that, but if it is, It feels it's inspired by Witcher 3. I would imagine that this is not part of the same body of work as the other one, but um, I could see your signature style in this. I could see the puzzle piece sort of thing going on here, and the mood. It's got a gorgeous composition. It doesn't feel the same with these other pieces, but maybe that's because it's part of a different. This one said mature content, and I don't think it's very mature content. So I'll open it up here in hotel, and I don't think it's it's very artistic. It's not like sexualized here. It's very beautiful, and these remind me more of like sketches, and but beautiful sketches. So I do definitely like them. So there are anatomy studies, figure drawing is hard. I think you did a really great job. I love the heart. Details in it, beautiful. I also really love the skeleton to the right of the heart. I think these two have the most detail that makes sense to me. Um, Maybe the whole top row. The bottom row seems a bit more abstract in detail, a little bit, but really beautiful. Um, Arlen, I guess I'll drop that to you. How you feel about, I guess, the cohesiveness throughout those. I mean, I think the ones that are red, right, that have red and black feel like very, very signature to this style.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all amazing. And yeah, I don't know if those red ones are all grouped together on one platform, but would be a perfect collection, grouped together because they're, all similar themes, and styles. But yeah, it looks great and the website looks great. Good job.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where this is like minted. Maybe is information here. But yeah, wow, that looks cool. I would just gonna keep continuing making art. This is really phenomenal process. It's really interesting. Especially like I said, that a lot of stuff is AI now, and it's trying to replicate some of these artistic processes, and you're doing it from scratch. See the other questions here. I tried my best to keep.
Wait just for a second, but I'll be right back.
Okay. I tried my best to keep everything in one place, but from now on, everything will be on manifold. So hopefully, I won't have to change collection. Yeah, that's smart. Um, I'm sure a lot of us wish we minted everything sort of in one area, minted more intentionally and stuff. But I definitely know that I would have done things a little bit differently, but it's okay. It's a new year. Um, so minted differently now. I did not include edition size. Oh, yeah, we already talked. Yeah, I mean, outside of that, then yeah, I mean, beautiful piece, beautiful pieces. Um, I don't have anything really more to add on this. I mean, it's obviously sold for 4.2 ETH. I don't have anything that's ever sold for that much. So, congratulations. You can sell more work for that. It's really brilliant. Um, and I'll wait for, let's see, Arwen said she'd be right back. So I'll wait for her to come back. Collection. So I'm gonna just check the chat. See, she'll include the additions as the attributes. Yeah, I wonder if that's something you can add now. The second child is holding a key, by the way. Yeah, I see that. Beautiful. So Ethereum key, and it's so cool because it looks like this is from such an old period, and we get that Ethereum symbol in there. Really kick ass. I hope the person who collected it saw that. I'm sure they did. I'm sure they analyzed it pretty well before they spent that much grief. Yeah, really great, really great job. So next collection I have is actually it's called People in Mud, and This is by Alireza uh, Ghazaid. Ghazaid, I believe that's how you say it. Um, and so let's take a look at the collection. I actually really liked the description because I didn't know what people in mud actually meant. And I went and I read the description. So, people in mud, the people of Abad city in west of Iran have a really amazing tradition. When somebody dies, they create a place which is, if you want to write filled by mud, and they jump into the mud. Their bodies and clothes get wet with that mud, so they create huge um, huge fires to get dried. I think it means to dry, and when that mud dries, they start mourning. Believe me, this tradition is so amazing and weird at the same time. To be fair, I think that I would have said, believe me, this tradition is so amazing and surreal at the same time. I think weird could possibly have maybe a negative connotation towards the people who are performing this tradition, and that maybe surreal might not have that effect. I'm not sure though, and I'm not sure what people are offended by, but I just don't know that weird is the word that I would have used to describe a mourning ceremony. Just that's just me being, totally upfront with you, giving you honest feedback here.
I
Um,
agree. Some other words that they could use instead are like unique,
yeah,
or
yes,
different.
hmm exactly. So there's a lot of little typos in here. I'll just go over a couple of them. I understand there's a language barrier. I'm sorry. Um, so well, this when it goes on to the next sentence, capitalize W and when here. When somebody dies, they create a place which is filled. This is going to be filled, Filled, by mud, and they jump into the mud. Um, I think into is actually one word. Could be wrong right now. Uh, their bodies and clothes get wet. The bodies and clothes get wet with that mud, so they create huge fires. I think you need an apostrophe here before the S. Fire apostrophe S. I also could be wrong. To get dried, and when that mud dries, this would be dries, they start mourning. Believe me, this tradition is so amazing and unique at the same time. I think unique is a great one. I think Arwen hit the nail on the head. Unique is, to me, is perfect for this. This collection contains 12 pieces, and I will mint them in 4 parts. So each part contains 4 photos, so 4 drops in each one. Three.
I just wanted to say there wouldn't be an apostrophe in fires because it's plural. But it does
Yeah.
sound a little odd, the fires to get dried. So it probably would be better they create huge fires to dry the mud.
Or they could
Something
just say huge fire. I don't know if fires has to even be plural. Maybe just fire. I think that's what threw me off. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong here, but maybe it's the apostrophe, but I'm wrong about the apostrophe. Yeah, I don't. It's just word. You have to word that sentence differently to make it easier to read. I think, right?
right. But I do think even if you would just run this through a grammar check, it would at least, give squiggles on these things that um, don't make sense, and then you could try to reword it.
Yeah, I agree. If it's reworded though, and you change weird to like unique, I think it's very well done. Gives us an idea into what this is about, because when I just saw the people in the mud with the photographs, I didn't know why they were. I didn't know. I knew that the photographs were emotive and they were beautiful, but I just didn't understand the mud them. These people live in space that they just, they're just, you know, it's like this and it rains all the time and they don't have much. But when I read into it, I understood it more, and that's where I think like the description can elevate photographic series if done right. So um, we see that there's one sold bubble bought Tears on Mud. It's just a beautiful shot. Love the texture in this. I think the artist asked pinning it on editing in this collection, and I think the editing is really good. I like the editing. It's got a sort of, it's not too contrasty. I don't think I would want this collection to be too contrasty. It has this kind of softness and beauty to it, but it it shows all the textures. I like that. I love the girl's face here. And you can see the tears coming down right here. You can see the tears coming down. You can see the tears in the mud maybe too, because the mud changes colors. It looks like it dried from the fires, and now it's wet again from the tears from mourning. So very powerful. This image I really like too. This muddy look. I don't know if I like the title "Muddy Look," um, but maybe a title something more along like "Children Amongst the Fire," or something. I don't know, something a little more poetic than "Muddy Look." But the photo is beautiful. I just love it. I love the shape of her that's created by the garments. I think it's incredible, that shape. Her posture is really unique. I was going to say strange, unique. It's really unique. The way she's, looking into the soul of the viewer or the photographer. Well, I'm the viewer right now, so I feel like the picture's looking into my soul. And I love the way it's composed and the depth of field. I think if it wasn't a shallow depth of field, these people in the background would be too distracting. I enjoy the guy's head cut off. I don't mind it at all. A lot of times this can't be done well, but I think in this case it's done really well. And this guy's cut off in the arms here. None of this bothers me. This image. And it's all about groups. This is one whispering. Too. This is a very powerful shot too. I mean, it's really beautiful. And she just looks lost in this, in her own mind. She just looks so lost in the sadness or mourning. It's a really powerful moment captured once again all those textures. To you, Aaron. What's your favorite piece of the three?
I really love them too. And my favorite one is the Tears on Mud. It's so stunning. I feel like in that one and in Whispering, you can just feel the emotion of the subjects. And that's just so stunning. It just really makes them fantastic. So those two are my favorites. And I also like Muddy Look, although I agree about the name. What I really like in Muddy Look is that you can see the fire in the background. It's a little more zoomed out, and I was kind of wondering about that when I was looking at the first two because you had talked about the fire in the description. And so I really like the way that we get a feel for the fire in this one. Personally, for the collection, if it were me, I might have included a few more. And I usually don't say that. Maybe you plan to add to it later to really get a feel, for the whole festival. I feel like these leave me wanting more.
I really, um, I really agree with that part. You leaving me wanting more because the only one where we really have true context to what the description is about is number 2. Is the second one here. What do you look? Um, and I'd have to agree with you on the fact that number 1 and number 3 are really the most emotive and captivating in the way they make me feel when looking at them. Um, they are, and I think there just needs to be some like the Muddy Look context that are more documentary, because the first and third shots, you have Whispering and Tears on Mud. They're very portraiture or very environmental portraiture. the work describes documentary. And so I think instead of 4 drops of 3, um, maybe 3 drops of 4, right? 4, 8, 12. Like maybe one other image in here that has more context to the first 4, or maybe you can even start with 5. Um, I wonder what the idea behind dropping them in segments is. I mean, I know I drop my collection in segments of my Lost in Transit just because it's editions of 10 each. So if I didn't drop them in segments, there would be a lot of NFTs on the blockchain. But when it's a one-of-one collection, I don't see why you have to drop it in 4 segments. You, I mean, you could drop it in one segment if they're all really strong, or you could drop it in 2 segments if you like. But
I
yeah,
think dropping it in 2 segments would make sense because, I mean, it looks like he already has increased the price already. Actually, I think he's asking to come up and speak about it. But I think he already has increased the price already, but a lot of times the reason people drop in segments is so it's easier to increase the price in the second segment. But I do feel like if there were 1 or 2 more in this, like especially at least one more that was more the environmental shot, like that showed more, then it would be a little more cohesive because that one wouldn't stand out from the other 2 as much as they do right now. So I think like 2 drops would work really well if you had the right number to include, maybe a couple more like the middle one in the first drop.
yeah, that makes sense. Like each drop has a couple of portraits and a couple of maybe more environmental look into what um, the morning event is like and what surrounds that event. I think that's a great idea. And it's interesting you brought up that people like to drop in segments, so it's easier to raise the price. Um, I mean, you could also let the community decide on the price by just putting it at a reserve auction without a buy it now, and having at least that reserve price where you wouldn't want to get any less than the reserve. I guess that's also an option. There's a lot of different ways you can do and play with that, but I'd love to hear from the artist if they are here and they do want to come up and speak if they can be unmuted.
I guess they're saying they can't unmute.
Yeah, that's an issue that we've had in the past, but I think Goon knows how to get them out of that. So I think it's something in the permissions. Let's just wait and see. In the meantime, I could read the description. So, whispering. The woman was sitting on the floor, and she was mourning or whispering some words. She was looking like she is not in this world, whispering and crying. That moment was really weird. Yeah, once again, the use of the word weird, I think, could be changed out to something. I don't know if my unique could probably work in this too, but this, I would, what I would do is I'd take the word unique and I would ask Google to give you, I think it's called, is it synonyms or antonyms of the word, and it'll give you other words like that word. Sometimes I do that with the titling of images, and it helps a lot to find something that I didn't use before that could also be used.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah, I
can
do
you
that all
hear me?
the time. The synonyms and
Yeah, and I can
yeah,
hear
and
you.
I think you could even do synonyms for weird, and you might get you know, exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, there's odd and there's a few other ones for weird. We have the artist here though, and I can hear you. I can hear you. Alareza?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. How are you?
Yes, how are you, guys? Yeah, it's an honor speaking with you guys, and I'm so glad that I have heard your beautiful feedbacks. Let me speak about word weird. For me, weird means strange, something really strange, and something odd. Yeah, actually, I didn't thought about that. Maybe weird has some negativity inside, and I decided to use that word. But now I found out that maybe it adds some negative vibe to it. And yeah, for sure, maybe you're right because using words in description is it's really important, and I might have done it not good. And about the drops, I decided to keep it, interesting, exciting to mint in more parts that I can because I was thinking that maybe it makes it more interesting when people trying to find out what happens in the next drops, and maybe that's the reason that I use this strategy to drop the whole collection. But yeah, you're right. Maybe if I minted in two part, it was more obvious about it, and I could be more clear about this collection, and I could show more uh, parts of this ceremony. But I'm so appreciated because of your great feedbacks. It's actually my first time that I receive honest feedbacks, and it's a great moment for me. I just wanted to ask you, thank you because of your beautiful feedback here, man.
You're welcome. And I think, I think it's probably just a cultural thing. I know, like, in the United States, like, people have used the word weirdo about someone that they thought was strange or odd, or but not in a positive light, or they would call someone weird that didn't fit in. And so that's just something here in the United States that we have. That's and we talk about things sometimes here and say, oh, that's very weird, and it's not in a negative context at all. When it's used about someone or something, or someone or a tradition or group of people, um, then it can seem that way. And so where you're from, it probably doesn't have that negative connotation at all. But just I'm just letting you know that from here, it could. And I know that your intentions weren't that, but I just think it's just a good lesson in like not a lesson, a good understanding and I guess perspective from other parts of the world that use words in a different way. And so since Web3 is so used in you know Northern America, that it's probably best to find a synonym that works and maybe sounds a little bit better. Like we use unique in a way that is usually always complement to anything. So I think that's why Orwin was saying unique is,
Yeah.
is a good one, right?
Yeah. Mike, I believe that especially kids are not related to the religious ceremonies or this type of ceremonies. At the first time when I saw that they dropped their kids in the pool of the mud, it was disturbing to me because I really believe that kids don't understand that what goes on, what is happening, and maybe because of that negative side of this ceremony, it affected me, and I used that word because I believe that kids are living in their beautiful and simple world. So they are not understanding that what is for, what is tradition for. They don't even understand that what is this means actually. But maybe that side affected me, and maybe I have some negative vibes about this ceremony. I was really amazed when I saw this the first time, but I was thinking that what the poor kid has to do with the ceremony, and maybe that affected me.
That makes sense. And I mean, always be honest about how you're documenting things and how you feel about documenting. I guess just understand the implication of using a specific word and how that can be taken from someone who may or may not collect because of that. I'm not sure exactly, but like I said, I would probably just look through synonyms and find a word that maybe you felt a little bit more neutral. Um, yeah, as long as it works with how it made you feel as well. I think that would be the perfect common ground for it. And you said, you wanted to drop in segments so that there would be mystery behind it because we're coming out next. I think that's fine. I just think have a combination of portraits mixed with the environment in each segment.
Sorry, I didn't hear you well. Yeah, did you have any question about my collection?
No, maybe I was just having an issue with my connection. I think just find a synonym that fits how it made you feel, but also doesn't have as much of a negative connotation in certain areas. And then also, I think you can drop them in segments. Just make sure that each segment that you drop them in, there's a combination of portraits and also environments.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, 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 for sure. I got you. Thank you. It's great. It's really great to hear honest feedbacks. When I came to this space since 7 months ago, I just was hearing that your work is cool, your work is good, your work is awesome, but there were no honest feedbacks, and I'm so grateful to hear honest feedbacks today, and I really appreciate it. And absolutely, I'm going to change, my mistakes and correct them because it's helped me improve. And thank you, Mike. Thank you, Arvin, for spending time on this collection and talking about it and giving great feedback. I'm really honored.
Yeah, always honest feedbacks here, bro. Like if the feedback is to help grow. Right? And I've had many friends that tell me over the years that everything I showed them was great. And then I had other friends that I was closer to would tell me, "Hey, the collection is great. This year, this year, this year. It's not benefiting the collection. It's not as strong, or this maybe you should describe this differently." And so those were the people that I really would reach out to when I needed a second pair of eyes on my work. So that's the element that we wanted to bring to the AMA photo critique, is that understanding that myself and the co-hosts that we have here at MetaJungle, we're just one, two perspectives, and that we can try to be as constructive as possible and as helpful as possible from our perspective. And it seems that a lot of people are taking a lot of good out of it. And so I think if you change your description around and fix those different grammatical errors, and change a couple of those words around, and drop this in a way that's a little bit more storytelling in nature, you're gonna be golden. I'm sorry about the background noise here.
For sure, I'm going to, drop my next segment in a good way, which tells the more story about this tradition.
I'm really excited to see that. Did you have any other questions before we head to the next artist today?
No, 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 no. Just thank you. I just want to thank you and Arvin because of your honest feedbacks and so much appreciated, guys.
All right, cool, man. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. With that, I'm going to move on to the next artist, which is actually the near and dear to us, MetaJungle, Sarah Lindsay. The moment I knew uh, he didn't love me, born by Sarah Lindsay. So let me read into this description because this is a very compelling description that describes this piece of work. The moment I knew he didn't love me, it was one of those passionate loves. Passion is a powerful emotion that makes it so different from your average kind of love. When you feel passion, you feel alive, happy, excited, euphoric, and driven all at once. The ups and downs were there, and every time there was a down, I would notice something wasn't quite right. Yet something would keep me there. Hope. I straddled the line in the middle during this relationship. I was hopeful that it would work out, yet knowing it wouldn't change. Every argument turned into a fight. I was never as anxious, jealous, insecure, unstable, confused, or restless as I was when I was in these fights. A passionate and abusive relationship is different. It literally takes your entire being. If I did something wrong, I was punished. I don't remember ever crying so much around a person. I realized during our last fight that I should never have to request respect, kindness, and compassion from my partner. I realized that is not love or friendship. The moment I knew he didn't love me was the moment I knew I would be okay on my own. So I chose myself and left. About this image. I remember editing this image after we had a bad fight. It was a surreal feeling working on this creation that is supposed to represent growth, while on the inside, I was so anxious, tied up in turmoil, the opposite of growth. I felt a strong sensation of loneliness as I worked on this image, but I knew I would be okay alone. Now, when I took this image, I see the yellow dress unafraid of growth and conquering it alone. Edition 1 of 1 NFT, artist Sarah Lindsay. This is a great way to put it. Like if you want to just put the edition in here on the artist name, just at the end here, about the artist. Sarah Lindsay is a passionate environmental self-portrait and landscape photographer based in the beautiful Canadian Rockies. She's widely known for her signature yellow dress, long exposure work, and bubbly personality. Sarah works with some of the photography industry's top brands as an ambassador and travels the world educating other photographers in epic landscapes. She shares her experiences and behind the scenes photography adventures on her YouTube channel and always has her Whip It Ollie by her side. She got the extended editorial license. Information such as attributes is ISO f-stop exposures, a lot of attributes here. Artist name, perfect. Edition. Sarah knows the stuff. She's co-hosts MetaJungle, so she's got all the really good information in here. I don't see license, but that's also something that I mistaked to put on my super rare piece as well. So I think I'd have to pay some decent money to change that out. But she has the license here in the description, extended editorial license. I love the description of this piece of work. It's really beautiful and it's vulnerable to listen to. I think a lot of us can relate to that part of the relationship where either the person doesn't love you anymore, mistreating you, and abusive in the ways of which they handle your feelings. And I think it's really courageous to put that on paper and immortalize that on the blockchain. And the image for me could really feel very, a representation of what she's talking about here. And I see the tree and her hand on the tree as grounding her in this time and understanding that she can grow just as this tree can grow. She can be strong just as this tree is strong. And I think it's a beautiful image compositionally. I love the color relationships of the yellow, green, and blue. And it's a beautiful image. So, Armin, I'd love to pass it off to you.
Okay. Well, I love the image and I love the description, and I always, of course, I love all of Sarah's work. Um, I love how she's so open about things, and I think that really contributes to the description and the image, like telling all the details of behind it. And to me, her hand on the tree, not only what you were saying, is really symbolic, like kind of that she's pushing away. She's kind of pushing against the tree, this relationship that didn't work out, but still being grounded by the tree. So I think it has a lot of meanings in it, and I really love that about this. And I love the light on the ground. The way the ground kind of float, the yellow in the grass. Oops, shoot, I'm having a couple of technical problems. Can you hear me? I love the way the yellow
Yeah,
in the grass
you're
flows into the yellow.
you're perfect. I could hear you perfectly. You're talking about the
Okay.
yellow in the grass.
Kind of flows into the yellow of the dress, and the yellow and the blue being complementary colors. I think she just does such a great job with um, everything in her images, and this one is no exception.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you said. Feeling like pushing away at the same time with the tree. How we can interpret this in different ways, and how I didn't see it. It's really cool. You know what else I like too is from a technical standpoint is this these leaves and branch that comes out this way here and points in that direction, and the dress that kind of comes out and points in the opposite direction. Like maybe maybe the partner's going in this direction, and she's going in this direction. That's really interesting. I mean, visually, I'm trying to put some narrative on it myself, but just visually, it's beautiful. Look at this triangle happening here, and triangle happening over here. It's gorgeous. And so Sarah asks, um, do you feel the connection between the photo and the description? I don't even think we need to answer. I think we already both have a connection between it. I loved the image. I love the description, and they certainly relate. What is the overall message you got from this piece? I think we kind of talked about the overall message. Like for me, it's being able to let go, but also understanding that you're strong, that you're grounded, um, and you can move on to be the next best version of yourself. Because if someone doesn't love you anymore, and they've made that clear, that if you love yourself, if you truly love yourself, that there's always room to grow from the experience, and to know that because you love yourself, that there's someone out there that will love you the way you love yourself. And so that's kind of that's kind of my message from this, is that it's okay to let go as long as you don't put all of your love into someone else, and you have love for yourself. If they've been abusive towards you, or don't love you anymore, you have yourself, and you have to come first. And so that's what it is for me. I don't know if you have anything to add on it, but I think pretty much spoke a lot to how it makes us feel. Waking up, and I don't think Sarah needs any other help on this. I think just a collector's going to come along soon enough.
Yeah, I have nothing to add.
Okay, great. So yeah, with that, we're going to move on to the last one, and this is a collection. This collection is called Together. Together, we make a difference. And this is by Shubham Ganev. I'll read the artist statement here. So, we as photographers cherish each and every picture we create. Sometimes the picture we click doesn't give justice to the thrust of the photographer or what we are really looking forward to. And then those pictures lie somewhere in the corner of our hard drive. This is a collection of pictures where two different kinds of pictures shot in different environments are combined together to form a symmetrical or meaningful picture. Pictures that did not stand out on their own now stand out even more when combined with others. That's why they say together we make a difference. License here. Each image is 0.1 ETH. Nothing written in the description about 0.1. Let's take a look at. Let's take a look at the inside here. So have a description here, rat race. Let's see. There's no indication that it's a one of one. So that's something, especially on OpenSea, where it's lazy minting, you can just go in and edit this stuff super easily. There's no pre that says it's a one of one, and I assume they're one of ones, right? Because they're listed and you can't buy. It doesn't show that it's any more than one. This image particularly, I think, is the strongest um, depiction of what you're trying to do here with creating a diptych out of two images, and it looks like the image is cut off right around here where my mouse is. But it's wild that you really made it feel like one image. This top image looks like a train station. Looks like there's a train coming by here, and the bottom image just looks like it's in front of an apartment building, and there's these people holding each other up, sort of like how you see it, like cheerleading competitions, how they form a strong foundation and hold each other. Kind of just creates this image that really goes into the next diptychs image in a way. You'd really have to look at this to realize that this is a diptych and it's not just one really complex image. So rat race is my favorite. And if I had second favorite, it might be this one here, rejection. Read this here. Rejection. Rejection is redirection. Go where the love is. So many people love you. So don't focus on the people who don't. Rejection is nothing more than a necessary step in the pursuit of success. In these, he goes down at the breakdowns of the diptychs and telling you about what the first picture is about, what the second picture is about. I've read these throughout, but I'm actually more interested in what the combination of the two of them. And I think in this one you're telling us that it's about rejection, but in some of the other ones I don't know what the combination is. Let's see. The first photo we have is from Mumbai's well-known Marine Drive point. I was chilling and clicking some street actions, and in the process, I got this gemstone shot. And today, I got the opportunity to embed it in this diptych crown. The second picture is from Mumbai's Ganesh Utsav Festival. Lakhs of people gather in the area to pray and celebrate their beloved god Ganesha. I got this shot in very crazy conditions. I was on top of the second floor windows and clicked the picture. It was so difficult to capture because there were so many other photographers too. So I hardly had any space to stand. So this picture was worth, I think you get a little typo here, worth the wait and struggle. And I'm happy that these two beautiful pictures of mine, this one I'm happy that with these two beautiful pictures of mine, this one meaningful picture is made. So, like I said, it's interesting to hear about what the first picture and the second picture is about. But to be perfectly honest, like the it's really about the finalized image, which is the merging of the two. So like for me, a description about what the merging of the two really means to the core would be the best type of description. So once again, you have artist name, but you're missing the licensing in here, and you're missing the fact that it's a one of one. You have the licensing in the description, but I see it because it's going to carry over onto other platforms, I believe. Arwen, when you look at these, which ones are your favorites? Like, um, either visually or storytelling, or combined visual with storytelling.
I really love these. I think it's really creative what he did with them, and I love the way that each of the two photos in each one are matched up so well. And I would say that my favorites, they're different than your favorites. Well, I do really like Rejection, which you also really liked, but I absolutely love Throne of Wheels. I mean, I was looking at it so closely, and the two wheels on the left line up so well. The one on the right, maybe not so much, but just the way it goes together like a puzzle is very captivating. And then I also really like Mind Blowing. I just think it's so cool the way the stream of tea, oh, it's tea, not coffee. The stream of tea turns into the steeple or whatever it is that's coming out of his head. And he's holding his hand there, like to not get wet from the tea, which is in the other photo. So I think that one's really neat too. But I think it's just such a unique and creative idea. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely fantastic to combine two images to create one story. And so I really enjoy Mind Blowing and Infinite Wheels as well. And I think it's good that we different favorites because that's good for the artist. If everybody liked the same ones, then it wouldn't be as good because working as a collection, it would suffer because everybody would be trying to get the same ones. So I think that's a compliment to the artist. So mind blowing, right? It has like a more like a, the story makes more sense to me, and I think it's even visually better than Let's Pour Tea. So um, I don't know. I mean, I was trying to create a story out of the Let's Pour Tea. It was a little bit hard for me. Like I was thinking, well, maybe the tea is like gasoline, maybe the tea is like fuel, but then the tea is going into this house. Uh, and it would make sense if the tea was flowing into, I guess, the gas tank of the subway, but maybe the bus, but maybe it doesn't have to, and maybe you get that from this image. But it was a little too difficult for me to create like a story out of this. But maybe a story doesn't have to be created out of it. Maybe it just has to be visually appealing, and that's enough for someone to say, "I love looking at this. It's creative and beautiful," and they want to collect that. So, but for me, that one, and I would say Dive In is probably the other one for me that was a little weaker than the rest, just because I mean I think it's really well done as a diptych. Um, I just think I just don't think it's as mature of an idea of a narrative that some of these other ones have, like meat and potatoes to them, where this one kind of just feels a bit like a one-liner, like the kids just jumping into this space or just jumping into this world or whatever, the sky. It doesn't feel as mature of a narrative for me, and it just seeing what the artist can do with the other diptychs, it just doesn't stand out for me as much. I don't know, Arvin, if you feel the same about that. If you have a different opinion.
I agree with you about Let's Pour Tea. I prefer mind blowing much more. And to me, I feel like in Let's Pour Tea, he could have put anything in the bottom. It's not quite as cohesive. But I really like, what was the other one?
I dive in.
Because I feel like he's either jumping off of the top of the buildings or he's jumping into a hole. Like the way he's jumping to me just makes both of them go together so well, because he could be jumping in either of them. So I really like this dive in. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it like that, it kind of is mind blowing to the perspective, and I think that that's what is great about it is that you what you mentioned makes me think now, like which portion of the image is he coming? Like, I think it's the top portion that he's jumping into this hole, and the photographer's below. But yeah, it's really tricks the perspective, and so I do appreciate the perspective of this one very much. Let's see what the artist has for questions on the collection. Um, what do you think when you see this type of it's creative, or is it just mixing photographs? Well, I think it could just be mixing, but I think it could also be creative. I think that's where the comes in. And so I think for me, some of the ones in here, some of them, where you really nailed creative, mind blowing, makes a lot of sense to like where you really nailed being creative, pouring onto the man's head. And Arwen took it a step further, saying that like he's shielding his head from the rain or the wetness. And what's really interesting is these drops actually look like, but I think it's like a tower. I think it's a structure like a tower, a skyscraper or something. I'm not sure, but it flows into it like water drops. So from a creative aspect, I think that is very creative. And the least creative one to me would be let's pour tea, because like Arwen said, I think you could be pouring that tea into anything, to make a story, an idea. But I'm not sure that the second half, the bottom half of this image, tells the story of the tea pouring into something. I think this is for me the weakest one within the collection of them. And I don't think of any of them that really weak. I just think that some of them are just really strong. And so with that, I don't think it's just a mixing of photographs. I think there's creative elements to it, and it's how creative are you going to be with your concepts in your mind. Do you just, like, are you just going to take two photographs that look cool together and put it together, or are you going to take two photographs that look really cool that actually add like a narrative? And I think that's taking it a step further. And I think you do that in some of these. What will be the best way or method to do marketing for these pieces? I don't think there's any difference in marketing these pieces as any other real pieces, but I mean, I would probably market it in a way where I was taking two of these and putting them next to each other, like maybe in a tweet you put uh, one of these that you think fits well next to another one, like maybe rejection and mind blowing, since they have this sort of angular, like how it comes down in an angle like this. Maybe those two speak to each other next to each other in an interesting way, or I don't know, even mind blowing and rat race, like because these people look like they're almost like a pouring body of liquid. Also, they look. I don't know. Maybe putting that in a tweet and talking about how your work is diptychs of two different images to create a specific narrative. And maybe you can even do that with one image, maybe one of your favorite images, and really speaking about why you like combining two images to create the narrative of one. There's always we have the MetaJungle, um, share and chat space that we do on Mondays. And so, that would be a good one to come into there and get more eyes on the work. A lot of times we have purchases made in there from collectors that are interested in something, especially at 0.1. It's a really nice entry point to a really interesting body of work. So like those are the routes that I would probably take to get some eyes on it and to market it in some way. You could also, I guess, reach out to like a good graphic designer and have have like a title, like an image like this, like rejection, where you could sort of have a title up here, and then underneath like by you, or make some cool looking movie poster type thing. Um, this is just like some little examples. I don't know if Arlen, you have anything to add to how that?
My dogs just started barking, but hopefully you
It's
can hear
okay.
me.
It's okay.
One thing I think might be kind of cool to advertise it is like a diagram or something that shows the two original images and then the final one. Because for me, the fact that they're two images combined is a really huge part of it. I remember Kath Samar did something where she showed like the individual things that went into her composite photos, and she kind of wrote a thread about it. So maybe something like that, you could try to search back, it was a long time ago, and find what she did and do something similar. So if it were me, would really play up that part, the two photos being combined into one, and maybe show a little bit about how they were combined and talk about it a little more, because I really do think that kind of draws people in to reading about it and looking at it more. And I think it would work really well in this case. Oh, hello, Mike, are you speaking?
Yes, I am. I forgot to press unmute again. I'm not used to doing the mute. Yeah, so I totally agree with that. I think it's a great idea to look at what other artists have done. Kath Simard is a good example. I think another good example is Samia Brada. He's has a collection, Split Stories, where it's black and white, and he combines two images to create one cohesive story. And he's sold out his collections. And so I would look into like how he went about marketing it, like maybe go through his media on Twitter and get an idea through that as well. And if the artist is here, I'm not sure if they want to come up, they can come up. Sorry, I have a lot of background noise right now because this waiters behind me. But let me go look into the questions here. Okay, so we have what do you think when you see this type of work? Oh, yeah, we already talked about, is it creative or just mixing photographs? I think it could be either or. I think you did a good job on the creative aspect side. Um, the best way to market the pieces, we talked about that. Anything helpful and constructive criticism appreciated. Yeah, just um, I would like if the descriptions were in a sense more about the finalized image rather than what each image is about. Other than that, a one of one in the properties category, one of one in your description. But I think the price is really fair for one of ones, and I don't have any actually other feedback on this. Looks like you're getting paid royalties. So, Armin, do you have any other feedback that you can help with in this box?
No, I don't think I have anything else. I agree with you that, I mean, so many of these are impactful as a single image. So, putting more in the description about that would be great. And then if you were going to cull it down, I think let's pour tea, as we said. Actually, that one could be really cool if there was something in the bottom to tie it into the theme of tea, is what I'm thinking. Like, I don't know, if you had another photo maybe that you could do that with. But yeah, I like it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if the tea was pouring down a landscape of a river or something like that. Like that, I would think of ideas like that. Like, what other images does water flow, and how can I merge this into something where it tells a story about that? So I think just thinking about each image you have, whether it's the bottom image or the top image, and how you can just generate that narrative, through both images. So yeah, I think that's the best place for that. But I mean, the artist probably knows more than we do about doing that, since that's what he does. So I think it's great work. It's really interesting. I love it in black and white. It's really, really different, unique. I've only seen it a couple of times. So yeah, that's the last collection. Thanks a lot, Armin. You've been awesome. I love the little that you don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to agree on everything, but it's good because it just means that the artist is different strengths in different areas. We see things differently, and that's just how it is. And so the fact that we have different favorites in here, especially, is a really, really good thing for the artist, because if I was to collect, I'd be collecting different ones from you, and that puts the artist closer to a sellout. It just means that there's more strong work throughout that collection. And I just always want to say thank you, Lynn, for making so much time to help out with the AMAs. It's always a really a pleasure and a treat, as Jaden would say, a real treat to work with you.
Oh, well, thanks for doing these, and thanks for continuing to invite me back. I know I haven't done one in a while, but I hope to do another one again soon.
It's awesome. Well, with that, I don't know if is Boone or it's Jaden that's around. I don't know if there's maybe a POAP today that people can. Oh, the POAP's. Yeah, he's just did it at 2:54 and it's 2:55, so he's ahead of me by a minute. Yeah, it's a treat, Jaden. Stealing that one from you. It's a real treat. Um, Cool, guys. Yeah, thanks for everybody who came and attended, and always love to look at the chat and see that people are taking the feedback and that they're going to make changes. And um, it's awesome. It's awesome to see this, and it's awesome to then see how they go about changing the collection and then getting sales and stuff. So, and if you guys ever have any feedback for us that actually do the AMAs, and how we can, how we can even be better at it or do it in a different way, we're always open to feedback. But it's been a great session. Don't forget to clean your POAP, and thanks MetaJungle for giving us the platform to be able to share and educate. But with that, yeah, we close out the session and collect your POAPs, guys. So, yep, I'll end in 3, 2, 1. Love you guys. Peace.